Hi, I'm Steve Petracek for Seattle Avionics. Let's talk about how FlyQ Online handles showing you information about various airports. There are a couple of different ways that FlyQ Online does this. By default, the system will automatically lock into where you are using the position services on your Mac or PC. For example, on the left-hand side, it shows you all the nearby airports. You can scroll through that list to see more of them. By looking at the list, you know immediately if the airport is controlled or not. For example, an uncontrolled tower like Harvey Field, S43, are magenta, just like on a sectional. On the other hand, a controlled tower like Snohomish County, typically called Payne Field, is a blue icon, meaning that's a controlled airport. In addition, there's a lot of other information that you can get without clicking anything else. For example, you know what the runway configuration looks like, north-south, with one diagonal. You know that the weather conditions are currently red, which means low IFR or IFR. On the other hand, yellow conditions like at Boeing Field, a little south from here, yellow means marginal VFR. I'm looking for green, but no, I don't see any green. Green would mean that the weather conditions are VFR. It tells me that for Snohomish County Payne Field, it's in Everett. The longest runway is over 9,000 feet. The TPA is approximately 1,600 feet. Fuel prices last updated a few days ago, and so on. There's a series of 4 buttons below each airport too. These are quick access to things. The first one's map, the second one is weather, third one is fuel prices, and the last one on the right is plus FP, meaning add to flight plan. If I tap any of those, I see immediate access. For example, tapping on the map brings me to the map. If I don't tap there, if I just tap anywhere on the cell, I see general information about the airport, more detail. Notice how fast it was, by the way. The response time is a fraction of a second. It shows you the elevation, the TPA, maximum runway length, fuel prices, sunrise and sunset in Zulu time, by the way. Latitude, longitude. For most airports, you see a satellite image of the airport. If it's one of the 700 that the FAA produces a diagram, you see the FAA diagram. You can click on that and see it full screen. If it's not one of those airports or just some other airport where you want more detail, Seattle Avionics produces nearly 4,700 airport diagrams. Those are there. If you click on that, for example, you can see the detail that's there. What's nice is that there is more detail. In particular, it tells you where the tower, where the FBOs are, fuel, terminals, FBOs, whatever. It's all right there. Much more detail than what you get in the FAA document. Scrolling down, you see your COM frequencies, you see your runways, including whether it's hard or soft service, right pattern, left pattern, that sort of thing. You have the nav aids in the area, the nav aids that are near the airport, that is. There's a series of sub-tabs along the middle with more detail. Right now we're on general. If we switch this to the weather one, we immediately see the local, regional, and national radar. You can click on any of those, of course, to see more detail. Your METAR and your TAF are there. Of course, if an airport doesn't have a TAF or its own METAR, it pulls it from the nearest nearby location that does. Beneath the METAR or the TAF, you see both in the gray area, the raw, and then the translated is in white below. So you don't have to click anything to see both the raw and the translated. Scroll down and you see winds aloft from the closest winds aloft reporting station near that particular airport. They want to see what the weather's like. Well, I know the current temperature is a balmy 39 degrees. The high expected to be 43 degrees. If I tap on this, I can see a 7-day forecast. Very handy. Lots of rain. Oh, well, no. On Sunday, chance of snow. For Seattle, that's pretty unusual. On that sub-tab, the next one is procedures. It shows you all the airport diagrams. It shows you the arrival, departure, approach plates, whatever. Just tap on each of those. Very, very clear, come up very fast. The next tab shows you the official AFD from the airport. It automatically goes to the right page, by the way. If there are any NOTAMs, you see immediately how many NOTAMs are in that airport. Click on that and it shows them to you. Click services and it shows you all the FBOs, what their hours are, fuel prices, phone numbers. It shows you nearby lodging, restaurants, and any nearby attractions. Now, if you were flying to, say, Payne Field, and you know that the fuel price is different at Castle and Cook, you need to update it. Click that yellow update button, And now you can just type in a new fuel price, whatever it may be, click the green submit changes, and so on. We'll just hit cancel for now. So there are other things that you can do with the airport information when that's up. For example, there's some buttons at the top right side of any airport. The first one on top looks like a map. If I click on the map button, the map recenters exactly to the point of that particular airport. Below there is a button that says plus FP. Plus FP means add to flight plan. So if I have a flight plan open and I click on it, I can add this airport to the end of the flight plan, to the start of the flight plan, or logically where it should go in between. Another thing that you can do is there's a button that looks like, this is the standard action button on an iOS device. If you click on this, you can copy and paste this. I'll just say copy. And then you can paste this text into an email message, into a text message, into a web page, whatever you like. And that lets someone else take a look at the airport information from their own computer. Now let's talk just a little bit about fuel prices, since pilots generally care quite a lot about that. If I wanted to find all the fuel in the lowest fuel prices near an airport, I can type into my field at the top here, type PAE, for example, and notice that in my set of 4 buttons below this airport, one of the icons looks like a fuel button. So I'll click on fuel. And what it does is it shows me the fuel, which is sorted in a couple of different ways. By default, it shows me the fuel prices at that airport and all the nearby airports in order where it gets further and further away. However, if you're more interested in the lowest price fuel, simply say lowest price. And now it will find the lowest price in the vicinity of Painfield, which in this case looks like it's AWO, Arlington, which is 16 nautical miles away. And then if we look on the right side, we see that 100 low lead self-serve is $4.71. Jet A, full serve rather, is $3.81. Okay, so another way to look for fuel prices is to simply take a look at your navigational log on a given flight plan. This is a flight plan I created some time ago. So a couple of things to do. First of all, you can turn the fuel price layer on, which is probably useful, although not super useful when we're zoomed that far out. So let's zoom in a little bit further. Now we see some fuel prices along the way. As always, these are color-coded. So the green ones are the lowest price, the orange are in the middle, and the maroon ones are the highest price. Now, it turns out that this particular flight is pretty long. It's from the Seattle area all the way down to California. So the system automatically added a fuel stop for me. It looks like 008. If I want to know more about that airport, I can click on this and maybe zoom the map to that point. It looks like that's probably why it picked it. If you take a look, it looks like 008 has a $4.19 price for fuel. Nonetheless, I don't know anything about the airport. Possibly I'd like to see if they have a car, if there's some restaurants nearby, whatever. So I'm going to click on this again. I can either right-click on the icon for the airport or right-click on the ident of the airport. And this time I'll select Info. So when I select Info, I see my comm frequencies, my runways. I have a Seattle Avionics diagram, so maybe I'll look at that. Let's see what's on here. Not a lot of information about this airport. Let's take a look at services. Not a lot. Looks like there are some things in the area for lodging, but if you're looking for a place to eat, this is probably not a great place to go to. So the point is that there are a lot of different ways to get information about an airport. You can double tap on the map, you can get to it from the navigational log, you can get to it from the search box, all different ways to get to it. You can look at fuel prices from the big fuel tab. Lots of ways to get to airport information from within FlyQ Online.